Hello. We'll turn that music down a little bit. How are we all tonight? Thank you for joining us. Who have we got here? Got Ben, thank you for joining us. Dan, Chris, welcome. Well, first night. It's exciting to get this all started, and a bit nerve-wracking as well, so the nerves are quite high at the moment, but I think they'll settle once we get going again. So how's everyone doing? I've got a bit of a cough, sorry about that. Good way to start with a bit of a cough. Hey Luke, how you going? Yeah, I was having a quick look at Ben's live stream, seeing you over there, so welcome along. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it. No, your support from the start was always appreciated, and good to have you behind me as well. So it really does help this whole side of things when you got good support behind you. Nice, Dan. What did you get up to today? How's everyone's lawns going? We'll let everyone start joining in. How's the microphone? Everything sound okay? So we'll let everybody join. If you want to let us know how your day was and how's your lawn looking, we'll get into things. So basically tonight is just a bit of an intro to everything that we're going to be doing. I just want to kind of have a bit of a brainstorm night, and we'll get a few questions come through, and I just want to talk about just what we are planning on doing in the future. So that's probably the biggest thing. And then I want to make sure I'm on the right path to make sure what we create is effective and meaningful to those who are going to watch it. So that's our main focus on tonight, is just brainstorming and getting those ideas out just to make sure we're all good. Great, awesome to hear, Ben. No, that's fantastic. So we had a bit of an issue with the sound through the week and also the camera, so good to see it's all working. We're off to a good start. We got I'm gonna have the music playing in the background. If it's too loud, just let me know. I can turn it down. I've got the stream deck, so it's easy to turn up or down. Hey Brad, welcome. Thank you for joining. Well, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, make sure you do that. So let's start getting some of those subscriber numbers through, and of course notifications. You obviously got your notification because you're here, so that's great. But no, let's hear them. So let's hear those questions come through of what you think I commonly get asked, and I'll see if I've missed any that you do put through. The main goal is to create a video. So I get asked a lot of questions, and then when I get asked it, I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. And it's such a common question, but because you don't think about that as often anymore, you completely forget about it. So to have those videos and information out there on people who might be just starting, it's really important to get it out there and get it correct as well. So that's, I think, the main focus now is what I want to do from the beginning. Having those ones come out first will also help build my confidence into this, because it is hard to get in front of a camera. It is hard to talk, especially live as well. It's tough, but I'm enjoying it. I do enjoy this side of things. It's just getting over that hurdle of doing it, getting it started. So I'm excited to start that anyway. I think the first topic that I am going to look at doing... yeah, sorry Luke, I think you're on your own there. So I think a big topic that we will be covering over this series, is, and this is probably the biggest question I do get asked, is how do I get Kaikui out of cooch? This would have to be the biggest issue that I get, and there's not too many options. So there's a few chemicals out there that suppress Kaikui. but not too many that will kill the Kaikui but keep the cooch. So we'll be doing a few tests just to check all these different products out. I might borrow Luke's lawn to test that on, and we'll cut his lawn up into sections and we'll see which one works best, and then we'll plant his whole new lawn with cooch again. So we'll see how that goes. Tackling pest grass species in your lawn. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep. So you got grass. So grass is your variety that you've chosen and you wanted. Pest grass is any variety that invades that. So it could be buffalo and cooch, Kaikui and cooch, ryegrass in Kaikui. So it doesn't matter what the grass is. Your grass that you've chosen, the weed that comes in is the invading grass. So that's a big thing that we got to cover, because that's probably one of the most common questions I do get asked, actually. And no, I don't think everyone would agree with me. It's not too rude, Luke. And yeah, that's the other thing too. Obviously, winter's coming now. We'll notice a lot of moisture in the soils hanging around, and how to drain that better so it doesn't sit in the soil. Because when your moisture sits in the soil for a long period of time, that's how it can cause a few different issues. You can cause fungal diseases, and you can also have your earthworms start rising as well. So you get a lot of worm castings covered up over the lawn. So that's a big issue as well. And although hydrophobic soil is a massive factor through spring and summer, it can be an issue in winter as well. So your soil won't it'll take in, once you get a lot of rain, it'll just push the water in, even if the soil's hydrophobic. So it's a great time to actually put down a wetting agent to help flush that soil and break down any of the wax coating. Hey Joshua, does bow and arrow make your lawn go brown? I've used it to get rid of my clover, but the lawn has brown. Josh, it's it can do, but what was the application rate and kind of specifics that you were following? And were you spot spraying, or did you do a blanket spray? So a common thing, we do get asked this quite a bit, that bow and arrow or another chemical can brown the lawn. Sometimes you find with spot spraying is that when you go target a weed with spot spray, you'll sit there and hold the herbicide, the trigger on the herbicide, so the spray comes out on the weed for a longer period, where you only need to do a quick pass. So if you do soak that weed, you can cause the lawn to go brown. So anything like that, it's still meant to be just a quick pass, and you only need that dilution, small dilution, to cover the weed and move on. So that was a big common issue that we do see. One thing I'm noticing in this thing now, I've got to keep that chat part up longer so the questions do remain up there. I can see it on my right hand side, but I want to keep it up on the side there longer. Hey Dan, how you going? How's work today, mate? I think nice and dry for you to get as well. It's been nice dry today. It's we got rain coming tomorrow. We got I think they set up to 30 mils tomorrow, so that's going to be a bit wet. So, and then across the weekend we're going to rain as well. So if you're planning on putting any products out tomorrow or anything like that, I would hold off until we get that rain pass again. So from Monday we should be good. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is supposed to be fine, and then Thursday we should be back to wet again. Okay, so yeah, just spot sprayed. Yeah, so just be mindful of that. You may have done a quick pass, but I have noticed that when the browning does happen, the consensus was that a lot of it came off the back of spot spraying. So just a quick pass, see how that goes, and hopefully that actually helps it. But yeah, that was probably a common one we do get asked as well. So thanks for bringing that up as well. And if you did have any issues, you can always ask as well. No, I haven't sold the 26 yet. I put a email out to the contractors, and I had a couple of bites, so a couple have asked now, so we'll see what they come back with, but it still was there. So yeah, it's a good mower. But I get Colonel now. He comes and cuts my lawn for me, so it's just sat there. I actually went to pull it out today and it's got no fuel in it, so I'll have to get some fuel to give it a start and make sure it still runs well. If not, I'll have to drop it back off with Luke. Hey Hoppy, how you going? Yeah, I know. You guys over in Sydney cough it all the time, and Ben would know that just as much. It's, well, yeah, watching his latest video with the skid steer getting bogged, that's well and truly getting plenty of rain. So yes, no, we've been due for some rain, and I do like it. I do prefer the rain overnight and not through the day, but you can't be greedy. Any rain's good rain over here, that's for sure. Yeah, I agree, Dan. I reckon he does need a 26, that's for sure. Brad, I have not put anything on my lawn in the past 2 weeks since the heavy rain, and I'm getting some really good colour and also not mowed for a while. Probably best not to fert while rain is consistent. What is your thoughts? Yeah, no, look, that is true. If you haven't fed for 8 weeks plus, I'd still recommend definitely getting a feed in. So you want to keep it consistent still. Every 4 weeks is nice to try and trickle feed something into the lawn. But when you do get a lot of rain, and especially when it starts becoming over 30 mils in one session, like so a day, so tomorrow for example, that's becoming a bit too much water, and you end up getting leaching in a couple of different ways. You get leaching through the soil and also leaching on top. So when you get a heavy rain, the water ends up pooling on top of the lawn, and you end up washing nutrients. Any nutrients that are left on top of the soil will get washed away as well. And especially if you're on a slope, that can wash straight off the lawn and into the drainage system. So you end up losing a lot. And this is a big issue with fertilizers, common fertilizers, and also the environment. What do they call them? I can't remember. The people who go around and look after the environment. This is the big issue that we are facing in the future with environmental laws and how we go forward in looking after our gardens and lawns, because this is the way that nutrients are washed away. Leaching is a massive issue. So when you get too much fertilizers into the water systems, that's where you create your algal blooms, and you can also have a massive detriment to your aqua life. So you've got to be really, really careful. And pesticides and herbicides, or your insecticides, are a big issue as well. So this is something we'll definitely cover over the next few weeks, and that's something I'm going to put a note down, because that's, yeah, very important to me as well. I've always tried to maintain that factor of trying to little and often, rather than you might have a 12-week fertilizer, but if you can go little and often, so it spreads out a little bit and you get that consistent feed over the 12 weeks, it's a lot better than just putting out a big amount straight out and have a rain come through and wash it away. Hey Cam, how you going, mate? Jamie, how you going? Funny looking fella, yeah, I know. Yes. Got to scrub up a bit more. I had a shave, so I'm looking pretty schmick now. No, it's good to have you all here. Can't see how many viewers we got tonight so far. Doesn't say. First night. It's always exciting to actually see. What have we got? 11 watching. Great. That's fantastic for a starting point. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it is, Brad. Look, I think this is why I've had to do it. Look, I've been asked so often, and it does take a lot of time out of the day to work. And Ben would know, he'd know more than anybody, because this is what he does for a living, is videos and content. And it made it hard for him on the golf course. Yeah, it's to try and balance this plus family life and just your own enjoyment. It is tough, but it's something I've been asked, and something I have actually wanted to do for so long, because I love to share that knowledge, and because I always do get asked a lot of questions, I'd like to have somewhere where I can store it, and when I get asked, I can say, hey, look, I've gone through and made a really detailed video on this. This will help. I'm more than happy to answer any questions on it, but this will also help in answering those questions as well. So the whole point of doing the videos on the back of these common questions is to really go quality over quantity. And I really want to make these videos informational based, very specific, that can really help us all out. And that's the same thing. You get friends or family and go, hey, look, I want to get into my lawns. I know you're on, you know, WA Lawn Addicts or Australian Lawn Fanatics. How can I help? You know, how can I start? Okay, I know the place to start. Let's go to YouTube, check out Ralphy's, and we'll show you how to better suit your soils and get your lawn growing right. So that was the main focus on this, was to be able to have that ability. And the funny thing was, and this really reaffirmed the whole scenario of me actually starting videos, was when I was setting up this stream, I had a couple of friends who are streamers, and they've said, oh, if you have any troubles, make sure you ask. You know, I'm always happy to answer questions, which is fantastic. I'm always happy to. But when you're working through the middle of the day, I'm like, oh, I don't really want to bother them at work. I'm going to go to YouTube and I'm going to work this out myself. And 90% of the time I worked it out myself, and I've only had to ask a couple of questions where I have got really stuck. So it's, and that to me, in my head going, well, if I'm not going to ask my friends who have asked and said to me I can help, well then how many people are sitting there going, I don't really want to ask for advice, I'm just going to go look on YouTube. So that's where I thought it's very important for me to actually make videos. There's been a few pop up, Dan. I've noticed a few Mowmasters popping up, which is good. They're a fantastic machine. Brand new or second hand, they are such a great machine. They are so well built, solid. And this was the other thing as well. People like Luke from Mowmaster, you got people from Bailey's and Eco Growth. I would love to do a chat session with them so they can share their knowledge as well. I've got golf course superintendents that I know. I've got contractors, of course. When we're coming up to spring renos, I can get a couple of our contractors in and I can turn it into a bit of a joint session where we can share knowledge, because I know some things and there's a lot of things I don't know, but the people I call on know a lot of things as well that I may not know. So this whole journey is about gaining knowledge together and sharing that knowledge together and sharing it with all you. That's the most important thing. Brad, another question. Got those who may be unsure. Winter now in full swing. What can we do with our lawns in winter to prep for spring, if anything? Yeah, great question, Brad. So this time of the year, there's a few different options. I prefer not to use a granular all the time. However, there's a couple. Obviously, you got Bailey's 411, which is a winter fertilizer, and that's more broken down via water rather than the soil microbes. So what happens is, over winter, your soil microbes are less active in converting fertilizer into an available food source. So we've got to look at different options on how we feed. So that's one option, Bailey's 411. You can use a normal granular fertilizer, but we really trickle feed it into the lawn. So something like Eco Growth Purple's another fertilizer that I do like. I like this all year round. If Eco Growth Purple was in a mini prill, it'd probably be one of my favourite fertilizers. So I find it's a good all-rounder fertilizer, and it's often over winter you can also trickle into the lawn as well. So say at the moment I'd go 25 grams every 8 weeks per square metre. So 2.5 kilos per 100 square metres. Over winter I'd probably drop it down to 10 grams per square metre every 4 to 6 weeks. Just keep an eye on the lawn. The biggest thing I always say coming into winter is you got to be really focused on your lawn, because once it does start going brown, it's very hard to get green. So on the granulars, that's how I'll do it. When we go to liquids, you got your soil-based liquids. So I continue seaweed, all your seaweed solutions, and also humic acid over winter. I also go products that are kind of like a fish and kelp emulsion, so a bit of both. So the fish does do a bit of light feeding. And wetting agents I would only use if the soil is holding water for too long, and I'd use more of a penetrant to help push that water through. So, and this is what I'm going to go into detail. I'll probably go into this one more on next week's chat on how to go through with your actual feeding program. But of course, like questions now is always welcomed. I'm always happy to answer that. And then the biggest success I've had over winter is foliar feeding. So what happens is, because you can't get the effectiveness up through the root system, we feed through the leaf, and that is done with a foliar fertilizer. So you got your backpack sprayer and you're putting that mist out like you would a herbicide. You put that mist out over the lawn and the lawn will take it up through the leaf. And you got your foliar nitrogen, foliar iron, foliar potassium, foliar manganese. So, and there's a lot of others. You get a lot of other trace elements in a foliar fertilizer as well. So that's probably the most effective way to feed over winter. But again, reading that lawn and getting on top of it early and preventing it going into a decline early on will help ensure that the lawn stays in good condition for as long as possible, and that also sets you up perfectly for spring then. So that's an important one. So definitely we'll delve onto that one for sure. I think that's definitely probably next week's topic. We'll have to chuck on that one. Hey Stephen, how you going? How's your lawn going? Yeah, that's right, exactly. Because I've been talking about the Mo Masters, it's been popular, and it's always when I want to sell my one, that's for sure. And tax time's coming up as well. So yeah, that's always triggers the alerts. Yeah, we'll have to catch up, Jamie, that's for sure, yes. So, the other question that I always do get asked, and I talked about it just 2 seconds ago actually, was the actual weight of fertilizer. So, a big question that I always seem to get asked is, how much fertilizer do I put out on my lawn? And it's a great question, and it's something I don't even think about anymore. Because it's such common knowledge for me now, I have a measuring jug, so when I go to my bag, I know, okay, because I use the same fertilizer mainly most of the year round, I'll just go through and I've got a line on my measuring jug and I'll just feed it straight into the hopper. So it's just second nature for me now that I've set it all up. So I think this is the first video that I would like to do, is something on Granular, and please give me feedback on this, is because if you think it's important. The first video I'd like to do is how I weigh out how I work out how much fertilizer I need, how I weigh it out, how I set myself up so it's streamlined the next time I need to use fertilizer. We'll go through a little bit on the application process and what we do after. So the other question to that was, do I water the fertilizer in? So there's some that say you don't have to, but I always like to give it a watering in just because it starts that process and it takes the initial edge off the nitrogen as well. So nitrogen burn is such a big issue as well. So I like to take that edge off the nitrogen just so it helps get the process started and breaking into the soil. Hoppy, any point doing any scarifying or aeration in winter, or wait until showing good growth and speeds again? Yeah, okay, so this is going on my knowledge, and a few others might be able to jump in on this as well, just to confirm or maybe give a bit of a slight details change to what I say. I don't. I prefer to keep the canopy the best way to describe it is coming into winter, you want to be prepared for winter. You do not want to touch the lawn. You want to raise the levels of the grass to help with photosynthesis. Create that extra blade to help with that, to capture the sunlight. You don't want to touch the lawn over winter too much. You really want to be very careful. Just feather it through winter. The only thing that I generally say is okay through winter is aeration, because aeration can help with a couple of things. If the soil is compacted, well, this will relieve some of the compaction to help let the water drain better. And that's a big part. Obviously, we talked about hydrophobic soil, so compaction can lead to water sitting around for a long time. And once you break that compaction, then that helps loosen the soil and lets the water drain. And you can use a wetting agent at that point to help the process a little bit faster. If a lawn is very thatchy over winter and you're noticing disease, this is the tricky area. If you don't get rid of the thatch, it can increase the disease potential of being worse and holding on to that water. However, you open up the canopy, you can, in that kind of way, and put the lawn under stress, you can even do damage that way. So, interesting question. I want to answer that in a better way later on. So, yeah, I'll think of how to answer that one better. But that's the way I feel. Personally, on my own personal feeling is I wouldn't touch it. Just aerating at the main part. And then, yeah, leave the renovations, the scarifying, grooming till spring in, once that's grown. Yeah, that's right, Jamie. Little and often is rule of fertilizer. Any new products that have positively surprised me? Ooh. Oh, that's an interesting one. I haven't even thought about that. I see lots of new products come through all the time, and yeah, there's a product that I want to share. I haven't seen the results on it, and I'm gonna Google it right now so I don't make a mistake on it. But this is going to be a game changer. I feel like it's going to be a game changer. Just where are ya? Okay. So this product, and I haven't got my hands on it yet. I'm going to try and pick some up next week, and we'll find that out. So the product that I'm looking at the moment is called Echelon Duo, and it's a product by Proforce, so Indigo Proforce. Now, what this is it's a herbicide and an insecticide and fertilizer in one for pre-emergent weed control and for the control of pests in turf. So we've all heard of Oxyfert being a herbicide and fertilizer in one. This has got the insecticide in it as well. So I'm interested to see how this goes, to cross all aspects pretty much just in one fertilizer. So that's one thing. So I will bring more updates on that one. What else has excited me at the moment? I'm just trying to think. Another one I've got to get on is Turf Culture Impala. That's probably another one. So they've made that into a 500ml size now. All these products are slowly coming out. Probably Impala's been around for a while, but it's only been available in one litre, and it was quite expensive, and it was agency price, so it was hard to put a price on it. This is 250 mils, so the price is a lot lower, but it covers a lot of different diseases, and I'll share more on this as well coming up. So it covers 10 major diseases, and also is labelled for fairy ring. So that's exciting. I'm just going to double check that though. I'm pretty sure I got the report that it was fairy ring. That is the biggest one because fairy ring is one of the toughest things to treat. Yeah, it's labelled for fairy ring, so it's got all your main ones: brown patch, grey leaf spot, Helmo, Fusarium, dollar spot, brown patch, fairy ring, couch grass decline, spring dead spot, take all patch. So yeah, a lot of really important fungal diseases there that are covered in this one. And yeah, so excited to put that on the list and share that with you, especially this time of the year. I've really got to do that. That's my main job I've got to get onto. What else have we got here? Just got to catch up. In regards to fungicide, couldn't find much info about whether to leave it on the leaf or water it in. Can you advise and expand? Yeah, okay. So that's an interesting one because it isn't always labelled. It tells you a volume of water, and that's what we always go by. So when it says, I shouldn't have deleted that link. I feel like an idiot now. Label, here we go. But that is a very important question because this is where it days. Okay. Oh, here we go. All right. The label is important. And I'm going to do a whole video on herbicides, insecticides, pesticides, how we mix, how we apply, and how important this label is. On the label, it'll give you a total volume of water. It will give you absolutely every single detail you need to cover whatever scenario you're chasing. So I'll read this out, and this is the application for Impala. And this is leaf and crown disease. Okay, so this is your diseases that are leaf. So let's say dollar spot. It's a leaf disease. It's not a root system disease. So application volume for leaf and crown infections disease for brown patch, dollar spot, grey leaf, Helmo disease, Fusarium should be adequate to ensure thorough and even coverage of the turf leaves and penetration to the crown. Ideally, application volume should be between 350 to 500 litres a hectare. That's 3.5 to 5 litres of water. For best results, use your medium XR foliar T-jet nozzle. Foliar medium T-jet. Okay, so 1004 to 1005. So that's a 4. So this is so this is a T-jet poly XR nozzle 4. It's so hard to, yeah, hopefully I can. Okay, so that's your foliar nozzle. So to use that to get a coarse droplet, so you want to get a coarse droplet. Oh yeah, so E-jet, etc. T-jet 0405. So it is actually giving you a range. You can use either. So that's a foliar nozzle, or you can use a coarse nozzle. So this is a bit longer. So that's an AIXR nozzle, same color. If you keep to the same color, you only need to calibrate once. There's a nice little tip for you. So when you keep the same size, it's the same volume of water. And then it gives you the bar pressure at 5 kilometers an hour and 3 bar pressure. So it's a bit harder with backpack sprays to get your pressure. You can get a pressure regulator to guarantee it. And in higher cut, higher than 15mm, a significant spray shield effect can occur. So, and then again, in the root application, it does tell you to change to a different type of nozzle. So the label does state exactly what you need. It's very important to read that. Let's have a look. I hope that answered it. And again, Paul, I'll go into more detail. This is good gauge on just getting questions that I get asked, so I can go into more details, and we'll try and make the topic specific that night of how to go about it. Let's have a look. Does a granular wetting agent work in winter? Yeah, good question, Joshua. Yes, it does. So, granular wetting agents I like for the simple reason of easy application. You don't need to get the sprayer out or anything like that to put the wetting agent out. You can just use your granular fertilizer spreader. It's the same principle as your liquids, but it just takes a little bit of time for the granules to break down and then soak into the soil, so it still works. The only issue when using it over winter, because it can be more of a penetrant anyway, the granular wetting agents. I think there is some that do claim to have a bit of a retaining agent as well, but we got to be careful on how much, again, rain is coming. So if you put out a wetting agent tonight and 30 mils of water tomorrow, then you'll probably end up seeing most of it washed away, and so it's not effective. Whereas the liquid, you end up spraying out and it's already absorbing straight into the soil. So you still probably get a bit of a wash into the soil. That's a bit too much of 30 mils, so I still wouldn't apply it. But that's the best thing about a liquid wetting agent over a granular wetting agent, is that it's effectively straight into the soil. No, 100%, Jamie. So and that's a great point as well. So you've got to be really careful with fungicides, and it's only used when it really is needed, because a lot of these fungicides actually have growth regulating abilities. So propiconazole, even I think Impala as well. So growth regulator effects. You can actually stun your growth using a fungicide. So there's a couple that won't, like Rapid Aqua and Clawton, I don't think have that effect. But if you're going to use a fungicide, you've got to make sure the disease is probably bad enough to actually take that step and use in a fungicide. Because like I mentioned before, you want to try and do as minimal as you can to your lawn to ensure it doesn't go into stress and you don't do any damage. Because once it goes into stress, it's hard to get out of that situation. And that's why we do drop back on the nitrogen fertilizers as well. So it's alright using nitrogen, but what happens when you use nitrogen? It can start weakening the cell walls, and that can open it up to disease, having weak cell walls. Something like a product with silicon in it can help increase the strength of the cells, the vigor, make it more like I can't even say the word, elasticity of the cell walls helps with that. And of course potassium helps as well, but the silicon is a very important ingredient to help strengthen those cell walls, especially when you're using nitrogen over winter. But that's exactly the same with fungicides. So fungicide or any chemical, even herbicides, this is another part that I'm going to do. So my treatment of weeds over winter is I basically leave it until it really gets bad, and I'll share a photo of what my lawn looked like last year. I didn't use a pre-emergent last year, so I've got a bit of footage. I've got a few videos to share coming up, and a few photos of what my lawn. I didn't use a pre-emergent last year, and it looked absolutely horrible. It was just covered in weeds, and I've got a few weeds. I used Spartan this year, and I've still got weeds growing up. So it won't stop all weeds, but you'll certainly get a few pop up, and it's a big change to what it was last year, and you'll see that, and I'll want to try and bring a video on that. But my treatment for weeds is if they're only small and there's not many of them, I either pull them out or I just cut them. Once you cut it, you don't notice it. Then once they start becoming too prominent, you cut the lawn and you're still noticing, especially something like cat's ear dandelion, where you cut it and because they're flat, you don't always cut it. That's when I'll start to look at using a herbicide, because I try to only use it once or twice a season at max, and then a final treatment at the end of when it's coming to spring. Get the lawn groomed and they'll take all the weeds out. And you'll see the photos when I share that photo of how weed infested my lawn looked compared to what it's now. It didn't take long. It was basically that treatment, and I used Destiny last year. Now we're going to cover this. This is a massive one, so this is another video. Yeah, you can already see the next few weeks we've got a lot of information to be shared. But I used Destiny once last year because I have Guildford grass in mine, onion grass, and that's absolute horrible weed, and I've only got a little bit of it this year, so it has done its job. So I'll show you the photos of when the weeds were there and then when it's gone, but that's how I do apply. I'll do 2 applications of bow and arrow, then I'll do one more maybe if I really have to, or that's it. I'll just leave it at the 2. Yeah, a lot of disease can be fixed with feeding, and dollar spot's one of those for sure. Yeah, Brad, it's a lot of people are lucky, and it's a tough one to nail always what causes it. So I don't know if you can all remember when I had spring dead spot, and this really broke my heart because it was so hard to treat. I spent 3 years trying to treat it, and it'd come to this time of the year and you'd already start to see it in the lawn, and it's hurting me now even talking about it. So you start to see those signs, and no matter what you do in treatment, it sometimes just doesn't matter. And I've tried multiple products. I haven't tried Impala on it, and now I don't have it anymore to actually test it out. But I can't nail all the time on what causes disease issues. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes not so obvious, and it just comes. It could be animal bringing it in. We get a lot of roos in around our house, so I don't know if they carry disease on them and when they're chewing the lawn, so it's hard to always nail it. But the best way to describe it is, yes, 100%. Keeping to a balanced nutritional program is the most important factor. Don't overfeed and don't overuse on one ingredient. So massive amounts of nitrogen, like going over and using urea, and urea is good in some cases, but just using it as a solo product I'm not a big fan of. I like balance. So you think of a lawn program. Think of your nutrients, all your nutrients for your lawn, and think of a wine barrel. Okay, so with a wine barrel, you got planks of wood going up each side. Think of each one of those planks as a nutrient. Now, say if you're deficient in one nutrient or multiple nutrients and it's imbalance, are you going to fill that wine barrel up? No, you're not. So having that balance will ensure that everything's fed right, you got no leaching, and there's no oversupply. So we got obviously nitrogen oversupply will just create rapid growth, and a lot of it gets leached, and that was a big part of the environment government, was that the waterways were getting contaminated with a lot of nitrogen. So that was a big one. So yeah, great question there, Brad, that's for sure. And it also helps with, well, actually, Dan will answer this. This is an interesting one too. Now, the thatch in my lawn, I'm a very, very lean feeder on my lawn. I've got 400 square meters, so I don't feed a lot. And surprisingly, I've got a lot of products. My side lawn gets a lot of different testing. My front lawn, I'm actually very, very lean on. I don't feed it a lot, and I like to promote that leanness. However, it does build up the thatch really, really quick, and that's just because it's just very healthy. And being cooch, it just naturally builds up that thatch. So it's just very, very healthy, and it just loves to build up the thatch. And me and Dan have to tackle it a couple of times a year just to tidy it up. Yep, and the pre-emergence, that's going to be, I know we're mid-year now, so it's not, it is important because we're coming up to, I'll do my second application in July, so I think we'll talk about that in the herbicide section, like when we're doing insecticides. I'll add that one in, and we might schedule that one in for just as July comes and when I do my second application of Spartan. Yeah, and that's the other thing. I'm actually going to talk about that too, Jamie. I've taken it you're talking about Metzelfuron or even Duke, Destiny. So we'll talk about onion grass because that's going to be a hot topic, and we'll talk about non-turf registered chemicals and also chemicals that aren't registered for the home lawns like Monument. That's something we'll definitely talk about in the coming weeks. And that will probably be all in that same episode when we come up just before July and we do the pre-emergence. And I'll start typing out a script just so I make sure I cover all bases on that one. But I think that does cover the most main topics of what I do get asked. So herbicides, the browning on the lawn with the bow and arrow, how much to weigh with fertilizer, fungal diseases, spraying with the instructions on the label of the herbicide. So I'll do a talk on that one with the nozzles, how much water, mixing ratios, and how we can make that more specific so that information's right out there. You may have seen I had the photo through the week. So this is my camera. A good friend helped me out with this one, and so this is my starting point of getting some videos happening. I have got a few lessons to do on it, so I'll be doing a few practice runs just to get it tested, and just expect the first few videos not to be completely fluent while I learn to edit. That's something that I've got to learn. So that's my winter project, is learning how to do videos and upload them and get them all correct. So it just looks really nice as well. So I'm expecting the first few videos to be a bit funny, but we can redo those over time again later on and make them a bit more clear. But we've got to get... I think this whole process was, I've just got to get started because I've been putting it off, trying to get the best kind of knowledge on how to do it right from the start. But you're never going to do it right from the start. You're always going to learn. Now I'm more relaxed. This talking now has just been fantastic. I'm really relaxed now and I'm enjoying this. And I was always going to enjoy it anyway, but at least I can talk the information now and get this kind of consensus from you guys and girls. There could be some girls watching as well, and I'd love that too. That'd be fantastic. We have got a lot of females on the WA Lawn Addicts page, and that's been fantastic. I think we're at 35% female attendance on WA Lawn Addicts now, so it's fantastic to see. Matt, how you going, mate? Mr. Tassie, how are you going, buddy? How's the weather over there? It's cold here, so I can imagine it's getting pretty freezing over there. Yeah, thatch is a tricky thing. Yeah, so we did mine. That's what we did mine coming into winter too, didn't we? And I think, what did we do? Was it April? I think it was April we did mine. And it was a bit concerning because the temperatures were dropping, and because the temperatures were dropping, I was like, oh, do we have enough growth time before this to happen? So when it came into this part, I used a Granular, and I also used a foliar to help give it a bit of a boost, and we had that coverage back within a couple of weeks. So I think that's a good, I reckon if you got a common issue with fungal diseases, doing a late reno might even benefit you. And we're going to do the same thing. Once spring comes along, we're going to do a vertimo on my lawn just to see... Sorry, Dan, I'm already signing you up for that. We'll do a vertimo on my lawn, and we're going to just see how much thatch comes out of it, just to see how it actually went over winter, if it built any, which I don't think it will, because what if by doing it late, it might give you a start to the season, the solid start, rather than going, oh, I've got to get my lawn healthy, then I'll vertimo it, then I've got to wait until, you know, December, and then it's back on track again, and now I can finally enjoy it. By doing it late, allows me to start spring, and even though I'm going to vertimo it again, but this is just more trial just to see. Next year I'll probably go, nah, don't worry about it. We won't vertimo my lawn at the start. Let's have a start, get it up to Christmas and see how it's going. We might do a groom over Christmas period just to see what's there, tidy it up a little bit. Couple of weeks it'll be back ready for the other side of the season, and winter will, like April, will go hard and vertimo it again. So this is something that we're going to test, and at least as a contractor coming aboard, it gives them their confidence going, okay, if I follow this process, we will make it work. Because again, your lawn has to be in really good condition coming into April before it gets done. Otherwise, if it's not in good shape, and it hasn't been actively fed, you don't have bright reticulation, and that'll be another thing we'll talk about, reticulation, because hosing the lawn's fine as well if you do it right. But if you haven't got those processes in place, you won't get that effective result of return recovery. So you got to be very, very smart. But it's a big thing. I prefer, and this is the other thing, and helping out the contractor as well. So Dan will know, and all the other contractors as well. I've got Luke on here as well, and Jamie. Coming into spring, they are so busy with vertimoing work, aeration work. So having that plan in place to maybe do it a little later in season, preparing yourself for winter, might work for you. It might not, but it might work for you as well. But over winter, definitely solid tine aeration over cores. So if coring either can work, but solid tine aeration is good for draining, penetrating a few longer holes into the soil. Especially if the lawn is if the soil's soft enough, not hard, just the solids will be fine. If it is really hard, I do still recommend going that core, pulling out the core. Yeah, Jamie, look, it's something I've got to talk to Nick about. I've got to set up the trial patch better for it. But it's definitely going to do some trials on and have a bit of a play with, because there's a lot of reviews on it, and of course you got to have your own opinion on it, and I'll have my own opinion on it and how it works and what I think of it. But the results seem good. I've seen some, mixed results, but everyone's going to have that, and whether the product was done to specification, we don't know. So I think the only way to ever be conclusive is by doing your own testing, and that's what I've always done. That's why my poor side lawn will probably cop so many different products throughout the year, and it cops a bit of abuse. So there's a lot of testing just to make sure, and I think everybody knows that's my big thing, is I try and test everything before, recommending it too much, just to make sure it all works. Thanks, Brad. Look, thanks for joining me, Brad. No, I really appreciate that, and hope to catch you on a few more as well. My lawn's too healthy. I catch her a week off. I did a scalp core 8-way going into winter, and she's come back hard. Reno last week of August. One after is my plan. Okay, yeah, so we've done that before. We've gone through, and this is a big thing, is just gauging how everything's going as well. So with weather, so a big thing is the soil temperatures. Obviously, as it gets close to that 17 degrees again, everything starts waking up and becomes more active. However, if it's a lot of rain and those soil temps haven't raised, I would push that initial August renovation thought back a little bit. And same thing with other contractors and that. They always get the recommendations, oh, let's go 1st of September, let's get verti mode. But sometimes it is always the best idea to do that. So again, that's the kind of consensus you got to work out with as you get closer to spring. What else do you reckon? I think that's pretty much covered everything for tonight. I think I just wanted to get a few gauge on a few things, topics to help work out what we're going to talk about over the next coming weeks. I think I've got a few good topics to talk about now. Anything else you want to hear about me on what my plans are? That would be fantastic. How's the stream? Is everything being good? Is the music loud enough? Can you hear the music? Is it too loud? Too quiet? I've got it set for with buttons. Also, yeah, eventually I want to improve all this, obviously, but it's a time thing. We all start from the beginning and we build it up, and that's what I'm doing here, so I'm excited for that now. Yeah, I feel like I'm hoping, look, honestly, I'm hoping you're right about the early start to the year, because last year we had rains up until December. I really don't want to see that again. As much as I love rain, it was just really hard to try and get a start in the season when you just weren't interested in getting out and doing anything because it was so wet and cold. Then once we got rid of the rain, we had probably a couple of weeks of really nice weather, and then that's it. It started getting really, really hot. So I'm hoping that cycle doesn't happen again this year, but only time will tell. I think we started rain a little bit late last year as well, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes now. But no, every Thursday I'm hoping to do the live stream, 6 p.m. So why I chose 6 p.m. is I've got the chance to catch up with the boys when they get home, and Nat, of course, from school, and then have a bit of a chat and play with them. 6 o'clock now, they'll be eating dinner and getting bathed and ready for bed, and then once I finish now, I can go in and say goodnight and put them to bed. So that's why I kind of chose 6 o'clock. Or we can probably vary it. So again, once they go to bed, okay, well then I can come out and do a stream as well. So we can do a bit of an early one and a late one. We can swap those around. Sunday afternoon was the other consensus as an option, and that certainly is an option as well that we can do. But I'm always open to options, open options for music. So I've signed up to royalty-free music, so I can have the music in the background without having any violations. It's all covered and safe to go. And this is just this is just to have fun and talk lawn. I really want to make it an enjoyable process for everybody to come here, feel like they can be relaxed, feel like there's no negativity, there's no bad questions. You know, there's never a bad question. It's not bad question. There's no silly questions. The only silly questions, and I always say it, is the ones that don't get asked. So please don't feel like you can't ask a question, because there's no silly questions. Just feel free to ask, and I'm always happy to answer. And I look forward to all this. Every week we'll jump on, we'll have a bit of a chat, bit of a laugh, and hopefully it doesn't get too cold. And hopefully it wasn't too much background noise. Our neighbours were having a bit of a get together outside, so I heard that coming through. Eventually I'll try and enclose everything in, because hence the shed chat. We are in the shed. This is where my office is out in the shed. We can shut the roller door down, but when the roller door shuts, the internet cuts out. So I've got to keep that open. I will try and set that up so I have a better internet system so I don't have to have the door open, and probably keep it in warmer. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so Dad catches up with his friends down in Kenwick every Thursday night, and yeah, he enjoys it there, and that's probably where you did see him. Yeah, so that's his Thursday night outing with his friends, and my Thursday night with my friends is right here on this channel. Hey Matt, welcome. Thank you for joining. We're just coming to the end of it, but I'd love to hear your input before we do go, that's for sure. And if you had any questions, please ask. And yeah, absolutely, Dan. So that's the big thing. So with this webcam, I can switch it around, and I can have a desk, like a desk or a table put on the other side, and I can have some chairs, so we can kind of do like a workstation. You know how they do like on the news or stuff, and you got like a table and everyone's sitting at the table and we can all share and chat, and I want to do a lot of that, and I'll have various contractors, Luke for Silverstone, Dan, Jamie, you know, Luke from MoMaster will come in hopefully. He's always keen to get his face online. He loves it. Richie from T-Quip, or Greg from T-Quip, you know, there's so many people out there that have that knowledge that are happy to share it, happy to have a chat. And again, I don't know everything, but I'm always learning, and I can learn off these people too, and we can all learn together. So that was the biggest part of Shed Chat, was that we all learn together and we all have a great time. John Deere wheelies. Yeah. Maybe mower racing can be a topic one night, eh? Up in work in Calbarry, so mate, I only just finished and tuned in. I'll save them for next Thursday. Cam looks super good though. Yeah, well, you seen it from the start. Is last week when we were doing the testing, it was a bit blurry, so I worked it out. So what happened is that I had the setting input as 60 frames per second as out, so the camera's only suited for 30 frames per second, so it would sit here, I could see, and it would look fine, but when it was putting the broadcast out, it was putting it to 60 frames per second, which caused that what do we call it, like patchiness and graininess. So I think we set that up right now, and it does. It looks good. I'm happy with the banners and that. 173 subscribers so far. How good's that? So I found out we got to get to 500 subscribers. So once I get to 500 subscribers, they let me have a community tab, which allows me to talk through the page. Just put posts up, and I can, rather than using my Facebook page all the time, I can say, hey, look guys, I've got this YouTube video, I need some help. What would you like to answer? So I can do it through there. And of course, and I'm going to try it now, is please feel free to join our Discord page. See if it works. Hopefully it does, but if not, I'll link our Discord page in the comments eventually, and I don't know if it came up or not. I'm trying to set up commands. Another thing I gotta learn. So I'm trying to set up commands so it pops up my Discord or something like that. Actually, I might not. Hang on. Yeah, I thought I did do one. Try socials. Let me know if anything pops up, because I can't see anything. So if anything pops up, let me know. But yeah, I'll try to set up some tabs earlier, so if someone asks, oh, what's your Discord, I can just go, oh yeah, Discord is this. Yeah, Philip. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I got some news about Philip, but I'm not sharing it. You probably know. But yeah, I got some interesting news. And I'm very excited. I'll definitely be working with him on this as well. So we'll probably do some videos on this. But yeah, you probably already know, Matt. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, and that was the other thing. I can do some nothing popping up. Okay, that's alright. Yeah, sad face, isn't it? For you it is, I know. Oh, you poor bugger. But it'll be good though for him and that. So we'll see. I'm not saying we can't say anything yet. I want him on here so we can talk about it. I'll have a look at those links for the socials and all that kind of stuff and get them working again. But yeah, mile racing, that would be pretty cool. I reckon it'd be good to have a bit of a mile racing setup. So look, that was the thing with the socials though, is that it allows me to talk often and express my ideas and share those and get the feedback on them. And then we can work on those together and work on the videos, and I can get them out, so make sure it's all fluent. Stephen, I'm hoping to be on about every hour, so between an hour and hour and a half max. So we're just about ready to wrap up now. I think it's been a really good night so far. Certainly more relaxed about it, but I think an hour to hour and a half max is long enough to. I think, what are we up to now for viewers? Let's have a look. Yeah, so we've got 5 watching now. We started on about 12. Got 5 now, so I think an hour and a half is max. Between an hour and a half is working fine. Especially, it depends on the topic as well. Tonight was a big one. We had a lot to cover tonight. And now we can kind of fine-tune it all. So I think that is where I'm going to leave it now. I do want to thank you all for joining me tonight, and thank you all for the support so far. It has been fantastic, and thank you for liking the page and subscribing and hitting the notification bell. And again, if you haven't done that yet, please do so. It would be greatly appreciated. I look forward to bringing the content to you. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while, and just getting over that comfort zone and getting it out there has been a big hurdle, but I'm well and truly there now. And it's going to be an exciting time moving forward for this. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for joining in from Tasmania. I think you're 2 hours ahead, so it's 9 o'clock, just over 9 o'clock. But I really appreciate that. And Hoppy in Sydney, I think he might be still on as well. He's same thing, 2 hours ahead. So thank you very much for that. And thank you, Jamie. Still working on it. And thank you all again. I look forward to bringing you some great content every Thursday, hopefully, depending on the rain. That's also the other thing. So again, we're in the shed. When it's heavy rain, I can't hear anything, and you probably won't hear anything either. So if it is going to be raining that week, I will change the day and probably do the Sunday. So we'll modify that, but generally every Thursday. So again, thank you all so much. I look forward to talking on the socials, Discord. Get on my Discord. I look forward to talking about this more,